So I want to talk about depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts today. I think that so often, it's characterized as a diagnosis or something, when really, every single person, that's like kind of part of the human experience, is to go through that. Like, I think that there's a lot of shame about feeling suicidal sometimes, but like honestly, that's just kind of part of life. That's kind of just how life goes sometimes. That's how it ebbs and flows, and you have your highs and you have your lows, and that's just kind of part of it, though. And like same with depression. Like sometimes you're not gonna feel 100 and you're not gonna feel like on top of the world, and that's fine. Like, we should just start honoring like these different cycles of life, and really stop trying to force like always being positive, always being happy, always being one way, because there's always going to be infinite possibilities of what your way of being is like. Same with anxiety. Like, you don't have to never feel anxious or like fearful or anything. That's kind of just part of it. So I have dirt in my eye now. But I think another important thing to remember too is to not identify with these emotions, essentially, because they are emotions, and emotions are awesome because they teach us something, even the difficult ones. But try to look at, stop saying like, oh, I have depression, or I am depressed, and start saying, I feel depressed today, I feel anxious today, and that, or like in this moment even, because you don't have to feel anxious for the entire day, you don't have to feel depressed for the whole day, you don't have to feel suicidal for the whole day. When you declare that, like, I am depressed, I am suicidal, then that makes it into who you are. And so I just want to like make that distinction with language, and just be really intentional about how you say things, and think about what you're saying and why you're saying it. And with that too, like, I just want to put a kind of disclaimer about pharmaceuticals. Like, I do think that there's definitely some people that need to take pharmaceutical drugs to get out of their depressed or anxious states, for sure. But it's kind of like how people that birth in a hospital, like, that's only about 10% of humans that birth. Like, really only about 10% of those cases need to be at a hospital. Same with, about 10% of the population probably needs medication, and the rest can do other practices that get them out of those states. So if you are feeling depressed or anxious, fearful, whatever, first off, rest. Give yourself, like I said in a previous video, I have made it to where like 5 minutes a day is kind of my minimum for rest, and just laying in silence and doing nothing. And then also just eating correctly, not even correctly, but just eating foods that is going to make you feel good. So are you going to reach for a bag of chips or a package of strawberries or something? Like, reach for the foods that are going to make you feel good, and see if that can change your mood. Also, stay hydrated. Water is such an important part of the day, for animals, plants, people, like anything. So make sure that you're hydrating too, because that can have a huge effect on your mood, but also your immunity. So you want to keep your immunity up, stay hydrated, stay eating good things, and then also like catching your brain whenever it's on this negative loop. Like, try your hardest to be aware of it and then catch it, and then switch that so it can be a positive thought. So and usually, like, I don't know the correct rule of thumb, but I know it takes more positivity to rule out negativity. So if you have like one negative thought, try to think of like 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for, or things that you're happy about. Just try to retrain your brain to think in the positive mode. And then lastly, really quick, I just want to touch on postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression. Let's get rid of those fucking words. I fucking hate those words. Obviously, whenever you have a baby, whether you push it out or not, it is a huge life change, and that's just fucking normal to be feeling anxious that your kid's gonna die all the time, and it's fucking normal to be depressed that, for so many reasons you could be depressed. But I just hear women say like, oh, I'm really afraid I'm gonna get postpartum depression. Like, yeah, that's part of life. Like, that's honestly just part of the cycle, and it makes you stronger, and you learn from it, and you move forward. So I just want to make that distinction that like postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression is kind of going to be a given, more so for the mother, if the mother is like gave birth, because you have a lot of different hormone things going on in your body. You feel like, at least I felt like a stranger in my body, so that just doesn't help with, you know, this pressure of like keeping this new tiny human alive. And with that too, like I think a lot of the postpartum anxiety after a kid comes from just fearing that they're gonna die. And what really helped me with that is just knowing that we're not guaranteed, you know, another day with our kid. Like, I've seen so many kids, especially in high school, so many children passed away before their parents, and I've just always had that in my mind, that it's not guaranteed that, you know, just because you're the parent, you're gonna die last. So everyone's gonna die eventually, and like the more that you can accept that fact, I think it's a lot easier to deal with anxiety of people around you dying. And that's partly why I talk about like trusting yourself, and, you know, doing the work on your own and spending time by yourself, so that you can trust yourself to get through anything that life throws at you, and you can know at the end of the day, like, I'm gonna be okay because I know myself. And you come in this world alone and you leave alone. So think of that, and just remember that, you know, it's only you in this world. That's all you can count on. That's all you can kind of trust in a way. But yeah, just especially if you're a parent and you have that fear of your kid dying, you just kind of have to accept that they're going to die at some point, and they might die before you and they might not, and we don't know. We don't get to know, and that's kind of the beauty of being a human. And that's another part of why we need to be grateful every day. Like, whenever you train your brain to be grateful, and you can just sit in that gratitude every day and be like, holy shit, I got to wake up again today and do things. So hold gratitude in your heart, and I hope that helps.